The story starts in a high school classroom where 4 students are sitting. 3 of them are busy chatting while one student named Park Han-jun is sitting alone. Someone enters the class and Han-jun looks at him. It is Choi Sejang. He asks others if they are going to refuse to welcome him. Those 3 greet him nicely. The blonde girl asks him if he has sold much of the new chapter. He says of course and shows them the record sale of 48 million won. His friends show excitement over his achievement and ask him for a treat this weekend. Choi Sejang looks at Park Han-jun and says he has something important to do before this. He grabs Han-jun's head and smashes it against the desk. He asks him how he dares to ignore him. He asks if Han-jun has bought the new chapter he has uploaded. While asking this, he keeps beating him. He thinks Han-jun wants his business to flop. Han-jun does not reply and keeps bearing this brutality. Sejang looks at his face and says even an animal would understand what he is saying by now. The blonde girl asks what Sejang will do if Han-jun goes to the teacher and complains about him. Han-jun replies he has given enough money to the teacher to be on their side. He punches Han-jun and says there will be a bloodbath if the teacher acts up. After beating him this much, he looks at Han-jun's face. He gives Sejang a scary look. Sejang asks him if he wants to have a go at him. He keeps irritating Han-jun to make him angry. He tells him that if he reports him, he is confident in seeking damage compensation from him. But he is poor now as he acted cheeky towards Cheon-soo Kim and got his life screwed up. He does not have anything to pay again for compensation. While getting beaten, he thinks about the incident that happened 2 years ago. A high school gang grew up all over the country. They called it Nexus. All the gang members had a ring with an X written on it. Han-jun started a war with their head Kim Chun-soo. Right when he thought he had won the war, Nexus filed a lawsuit against him. Their consistent lies manipulated and fabricated the situation and evidence. Because of that, Han-jun lost the case. And his father's gym, which he gave his whole life, had to be sold to pay for the settlement money. After that, Han-jun promised himself that he would never fight again. He apologized to his father while crying. His father consoled him and said he should not be crying. Han-jun is walking on the street when 3 boys pass nearby him. One of them recognizes him and tells others about him. The buffed one among them acts cheeky and comes near him. He calls him and asks if he recognizes that ring in his hand. After a while, they take him to an empty street in Beaconwell. That buffed guy calls him useless and weak. He wonders how a weakling like him could fight Nexus. He talks badly about his father as well. Hearing this, Han-jun grabs his leg and gives him a scary look. That buffed guy looks shocked. Han-jun apologizes to him immediately for his recent behavior. The buff guy wonders how he could get intimidated by Han-jun when he glared at him. He feels pathetic and picks a stick. He starts beating him with it and asks why he wriggled. That guy breaks any sticks while beating him with them. They leave him there after getting satisfied and walk away. Right then, a well-suited stranger stops by him. He sits near him and asks why Han-jun is bearing all this. Suppose he is afraid that he will have to pay again. He tells him he should leave him half paralyzed for beating him like this. He asks if Han-jun is worried about the money for lawsuits and if he can pay for him. He opens a bag and bundles of notes fall out of it. He tells Han-jun he can get a decent law firm with that much money. But if does not want to file a lawsuit, he can beat them up and use that money to compensate for the damage. He asks how long it will take him to take them down. Han-jun asks him who he is. That guy replies he is someone who wants to beat up Cheon-soo Kim. He says he can tell them the details, but too many people are listening. That buff guy looks at that money and gets amazed. He says he wouldn't have beaten him if Han-jun had already told him he had this much money. Han-jun hits him with his elbow and breaks his jaw. That buff guy falls unconscious and hits the ground. Han-jun says it will take him 4 seconds to beat them. The other 2 get terrified and ask him to stop if they did not beat him earlier. But he beats the crap out of them. He says no one is listening anymore, so that guy should tell him about his motives. He takes him into his office and asks if Han-jun does not watch the news. He opens his profile on his phone and shows it to him. He's Oh Jung-woo, Korea's youngest successful CEO. He says he can use millions of wons to blow his nose. He asks Han-jun if and knows what kind of life Cheon-soo Kim is living. The article's headline about him is a popular student because he lives an upright life and has both exceptional looks and abilities. Ho Jun-woo says this is hilarious. While he is still recruiting people and doing gangster stuff behind the scenes, those ruined by him live like vegetables. It is not hard to bury him in the grave within society, but that is not what Oh Jun-woo wants. He wants to use his methods, filthy, petty, and repulsive methods to screw up both his life and mind. He says he will bear all the expenses for ruining Cheon-soo's life and also the money that Han-jun needs to live his life. Han-jun just has to lend his fists to him in return. Han-jun asks him why he hates Cheon-soo Kim. Oh Jun-woo leans forward and says he will know the reason with time. For now, the important thing is that they have a common enemy. Han-jun enters the class when Sejong asks his classmates to buy his new merchandise online. He is a Nexus member and the class is terrified of him. Han-jun goes near him. Sejong asks him why he is staring at him. Suppose he wants to get beaten again. Han-jun says nothing and punches him in the face. The whole class starts looking at them. Han-jun understood the concept that this world is run by money and power. Sejong remembers being unafraid of anything as no one was stronger than him. But then, he met Han-jun. When he saw him fighting, his whole body screamed that he had no chance against him. It was like he was a different breed. He was a wild beast. But that was only until he met Chien-Soo Kim. He screwed Han-jun's life with a lawsuit, took all his money, and brought him to his knees. That's when Sejong realized that the world is ruled by money. Soon he started an online store and forced his classmates to buy his goods. He got rich this way. Han-jun was nothing but a tamed beast. That's how he got back on the top of the food chain. But he wonders why he is getting beaten up now. Han-jun is breaking his bones. Sejong tries to attack back, but Han-jun blocks it. He crushes his foot and breaks his nose with his knee kick. Sejong is wondering what is happening to him all of a sudden. Han-jun is beating him continuously. His friends are terrified seeing him getting beaten like this. The other classmates are happy to see a bully getting bullied by someone. A few are even recording this fight. Sejong feels it humiliating. Han-jun throws him away and he hits the wall. Sejong spits blood on the floor. He asks Han-jun why he is doing this. Han-jun comes close and gazes at him with a scary face. Sejong flinches and asks his friend Joe to help him. Joe looks in that direction. Han-jun passes him an angry look. Joe turns his face away and understands that he cannot do anything. Sejong grins by looking at his useless friend. He brings out his mobile and starts making a video. He warns Han-jun that he has no money left. This time he would not be able to save himself from the lawsuit. Han-jun kicks in his face. The sole of his shoe prints on Sejong's face and his nose bleeds. His face keeps getting hit by kicks. He thinks he might die if he keeps getting hit at this rate, so he runs out of the classroom. Han-jun comes out of the room following him. While running, Sejong tries to calm him down and thinks that Han-jun has not done any fights in the last 2 years, so he will not be able to fight against a gym rat. He enters a room and asks Sung to help him. Sung stops his workout and asks him about what happened to his face. Sejong requests him to save his life. At the same time, Han-jun reaches there. Sejong tells Sung that he will give him 1 million won if he knocks down Han-jun. Sung looks at him and thinks 1 million won is less to beat this beast. He demands 2 million. Sejong agrees. He just wants to save his life right now. Sung goes near Han-jun and says it is not personal but needs money to attend a sports college. Han-jun asks if he wants to go into sports science majors. Sung replies yes. Han-jun gives him money and says he should not be straining his body for this. He asks him to take the money and step off. Sung happily accepts it and says Sejong is all Han-jun's. He throws Sejong out of the class. A teacher passing them sees this and wonders what's happening here. He sees Han-jun coming out of the room and asks what he thinks he is doing in the school. He takes them to his office. He asks Han-jun if he is a street gangster. Why is he beating his classmates so brutally? He reminds him that he gave Han-jun a second chance 2 years ago and saved him from expulsion. But he will not show any mercy this time. Sejong smirks at him, seeing him being scolded by the teacher. Han-jun gets up from his seat and punches Sejong in the face. The teacher is shocked and asks him if he has lost his mind. He grabs him and tries to hold him back. Sejong realizes that it is his end. While Han-jun throws punches at him, a man in a suit enters the room and asks him to stop now. The teacher asks him who he is. Byung-won Kim introduced himself and said he was an associate lawyer at the KR firm. The teacher asks what business he has here. At night, in the office of Jung-woo, Han-jun asks him how he did that. He says his teacher started groveling at him after talking with the lawyer. Sejong got expelled on the spot. Jung-woo says this was very easy for him to do. He tells him that Sejong just paid the price to harass him in the past. The teacher was involved in immoral acts. That lawyer showed him the evidence and his tail was safely tucked between his legs. He says he will not crush that teacher now as having him on their side is necessary to send Sanjang to juvie. Once his work is over, he will also be sent to jail. Jung-woo says he does not pay his taxes to support teachers like him. He asks Han-jun if he enjoys fighting after a long time. Suppose he is thankful to him for what he did for him today. Han-jun replies he kind of thankful. Jung-woo says there is too much left to be done before he gets thanks from him. At his home, Sejong is angry and throwing his things away. He says he will not go down quietly. He decides to kill Han-jun. The following day, he walks on the road wearing a hoodie and stops in front of a 3-story building. The door opens partially and someone from inside asks him who he is. He tells about him and says he is here to check the progress. The door is opened by a boy who excitedly tells him he has come here at the right time as Jinsong is here. Inside the room, some guys are beating a man. Jinsong Huang, the leader of the runaway boys, asks Sejing to come in. The guy getting beaten up calls Sejing names as he is here because of him. Jinsong hits him in the back and asks him to stay quiet. He orders his boys to remove that man from the scene. He asks Sejing why he is here as he never drops by in person. Sejing replies he is here to make a more extensive request. Jinsong asks how big this is. Sejing says he will pay 10 million won for that. The guy in a red shirt says he does not need to hear more. Just say the name of who is annoying Sejing. Jinsong hits that guy with the bat and asks him to stop acting giddy. He suggests he understands the seriousness of the situation. He says the game must be some real humdinger if the client offers this much. He asks who he is. Sejing says it is Han-jun Park. Jinsong instantly asks him to get out of there after hearing the name of Han-jun. He asks if he looks dumb as ordinary means won't do any harm to Han-jun. Sejing says he is offering 10 million up front. If they succeed, it will be 20 million. Jinsong and his boy are stunned to hear the offer. He laughs and locks the deal. The car stops at the front of an abandoned house in the middle of the city. Jianwu enters the house and wears off his shoes at the doorstep. Walking inside, he loses his tie knot and apologizes for not coming too long. He was swamped. He also has brought fried chicken. He sits on the couch and says chicken these days is so small that one might consider it a sparrow. He is talking to someone and says his dad used to make the best fried chicken in the town. Jianwu says he is craving it right now. They had it last time about 2 years ago. Saying this, he becomes sad. It feels like yesterday to him. Then he gets up and walks out, saying he will be busier again and unable to come soon. The last thing he says before leaving is that the things he has been preparing for are finally coming into shape. When he leaves the house, Byung-won tells him that Sejing is making his move. Should he take care of him? Jianwu says Byung-won knows his style. He never makes things simple and clean. Byung-won grins and says as he wishes. Han-jun's father gets a call from a gym to hire him as a trainer. He is surprised to hear about the salary package as well. After disconnecting the call, he pats his son's head and tells him he has a good job. He wonders how things are getting good all of a sudden. Han-jun stands up and says he is going to hit the gym. His father asks him not to be late as they will eat a nice dinner tonight. When he goes downstairs, he gets a call from Jianwu. He warns him about Sejing's making a move. He tells Han-jun that Sejing has hired some high school runaways as mercenaries. He asks him to call them back if they come looking for Han-jun. He replies that there will be no need for that as those guys are already outside his home. Jinsong smirks and tells Han-jun he is happy to see him. Han-jun looks at him and asks him who he is. Meanwhile, a van comes running towards him. That red shirt guy is moving it forward to hit him. Han-jun glares at him. He starts running towards the van instantly. Everyone looks at him shockingly. Han-jun hits the van with his kicks. That guy gets terrified and turns the wheel towards the left. This makes him roll over the van and he falls behind the van. His head hits the road and starts bleeding. Those runaway boys are glad to see him doing self-harm. Their boss tells them that it is his brilliant move. Han-jun gets up and says he is outraged now.